It's May 12th, 1956, a day you'll never forget. Not because it's your birthday, but because it's the day all your troubles began. You were born into a dysfunctional home ran by Abe and Mona, two lovebirds, for lack of better words, who ironically spent more time bickering than actually loving each other. It wasn't always that way. They were crazy about each other when they first met, but that doesn't matter now. Their constant fighting took a huge chunk out of the happiness you should have had as a kid. You grew up on the old farm off Rural Route 9, just outside Springfield, the place your dad retreated to after serving his country. The shed you called home wasn't exactly luxurious, and honestly, it probably wasn't worth all the sacrifices he made. But hey, at least it was better than being homeless. As a farm boy, living far away from the city, you had no friends. Your only real company? A busted King TV with radiation so intense, it literally burned your shadow into the wall. Oh yes, and your dog, Bongo. Can't forget Bongo. When you're not playing with Bongo, watching your questionably radioactive TV, or being serenaded by nonstop symphony of your parents' arguments, you spend your days at the barn, planting hot dog trees and scaring the cows. Unfortunately, those joyful days were taken away from you by the bank, but you have no one to blame but yourself. All those jump scares and trauma you put the cows through led to some, quality control issues. They only produced sour milk. No good milk, no money to sustain the farm. Who knew traumatized cows wouldn't be great for business? And as for your hot dog trees, yeah, those didn't grow for obvious reasons. But how are you supposed to know? All those hours you spent in front of your radiation-spewing TV fried your brains out. Or was it the crayon that was stuck in your brain for 30 years? Hard to tell. The odds always seem to be against you. On the bright side, moving to the city means you're no longer that weird kid who talks to cows and buries processed meat in the dirt. So, progress. Your dad moved you and your mom to Springfield, where you finally got to go to school and live a normal life. Great dad? Well, arguably. See, years of dodging grenades and fighting wars helped him develop a stoic demeanor, turning him into a tough, no-nonsense guy with the emotional warmth of a brick wall. He was harsh, unsupportive, and pretty much crushed any dream you ever had. When 6-year-old you said you wanted to be president, he laughed it off. When you beat him at chess, showing real potential, he flipped the board. When you tried to become a DJ and a musician, he made sure that dream died too. Unlike other dads who actually wanted their kids to succeed, he didn't bother, mostly because he knew about the dreaded Simpson gene, that little flaw in the Y chromosome that doomed every Simpson male to a life of laziness, stupidity, and underachievement. So, instead of fueling your dreams of becoming great someday, he introduced you to a new game of watching him drink and even offered you a beer from time to time. He's the reason you grow up to be an alcoholic with zero paternal instincts, if we're being completely honest. But hey, at least he didn't use the sour cow milk fiasco as an excuse to get some real milk, if you get what I'm saying. He stayed and made your life as miserable as possible instead. However, he did make some sacrifices. He gave up his dream of going on tour with Rita LaFleur to become a famous musician, and let's not forget he sold his house just to help you make a down payment on yours. So really, it's tough to tell if he's the worst dad ever or father of the year. Your mom, on the other hand, wasn't exactly present, which is pretty ironic considering she loved you more than life itself. She spent most of your childhood on the run from a crazy money-hungry capitalist, Mr. Burns, who made it his life's mission to have her arrested after she sabotaged one of his shady, borderline illegal operations back in her hippie activist days. Oh, and she's also wanted by the FBI. So yeah, you were lucky if you saw her once a decade, maybe twice if you're lucky. All you have of her are a handful of childhood memories, mostly of her arguing with your dad, shielding you from his outbursts, and rare peaceful moments spent baking pies together. That box of old pie recipes, pretty much the closest thing you have to motherly affection. To say your childhood was eventful would be an understatement. It was trauma-packed. Normally, all that abuse, neglect, and suffering should have fueled you to become a driven, successful young man. But nope, the Simpson gene had other plans. That thing had you in a chokehold from day one. You never graduated high school, so you spent most of your years jumping from one dead-end job to another. Then you finally landed something stable, and none other than Mr. Burns' company. Yep, the same guy who ruined your mom's life and indirectly made you lose your childhood dog Bongo. So you already knew your time there was going to be a crazy, depressing ride. But hey, what choice did you have? You had 3 kids to feed, and let's be real, they weren't exactly part of the master plan. Tough pill to swallow, but they were happy little accidents that had you ripping your hair out in panic every time Marge broke the news. Pretty much the reason why you're bald. But at the end of the day, you're just a poor dad trying his best to take care of his family and give them the best life you can. You may not know how to help them with their math problem, but you sure always support their dreams and keep the family standing.